It's literally golden hour, but somehow I still look dark and depressing. So I don't know why that's happening. Alright, this is my second time recording this video because sadly I lost the first one. The Vengeance Era. December 16th to January 6th. Now, we're once again realizing that 16 and 6 is being a very big number, and my English teacher would say that's a sign of the devil, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So December 16th, Ranboo and Ghostbur are departing from L'Manberg, and they're starting on a journey to Techno's cabin. But then Phil takes off his ankle monitor that he's supposed to be wearing, so because he's getting a little watch party. Yeah, and then he sneaks out because sneaky boy Phil, I guess. And he goes to Techno's cabin, and the other two see him there. Ranboo then returns Techno's helmet so he doesn't end up, dying. And Ranboo also gives Tommy a pickaxe, but Tommy's like, dude, you don't have to give me that out of pity. I'm not like a charity case. And Ranboo's like, nah, I'm giving it to you because we're friends. And Tommy doesn't really get that. Ranboo also says, hey, I wrote you a letter. How come you never got it? So that's depressing. And Ghostbur says, you know what, Tommy? Dream told me the party was rescheduled, and that's why nobody showed up. And Tommy's like, hold up. That was never told to me. And he thinks, oh, Dream can't be a bad guy, right? And then we find out that Ghostbur has also been evicted from his sewer home. So nothing is going very good in the Ghostbur department. But he does get a new house next to Techno's cabin, so maybe things are looking up. Techno ends up making a netherite sword for Tommy. And this is very sweet. They end the whole day with sitting down on a bench, of course, and listening to the Blocks disc. And Ranboo, he has a little heart-to-heart that I think all of us can relate to at some point in our lives. He says that he doesn't feel like he fits in with the rest of L'Manberg. And Techno, who's like, yo, I've been through that one before, gives the man a little bit of advice. And this is when Ranboo's like, hey, maybe L'Manberg isn't as good as I thought it was. I really don't like that anyway. And Techno tells Ranboo that his alliance with Tommy is only a temporary thing, and by that I mean, Your Honor, they're brothers, why would you do this to them? Ranboo also continues to write in his memory book, because let's be honest, we all need to write things down to remember them, right? Not just me. Ranboo also gets a black cat and names it Ender Chest, which I think is so adorable. December 17th. Puns tells everyone about his shulker box, and Sam is like, yo, can you sell it to me? The deal doesn't go through though, so don't worry. Puffy checks on the egg because egg lore is important. It's almost turned everything into crying obsidian, and that cannot be good. She then goes to visit Logstonshire and sees it destroyed. She grieves because she's like, oh, Tommy must be dead then. But then she goes on a date with Nikki, so you know what, it's all fine. Tubbo and Era also meet up to talk about the early days of the Dsmp, where life was a lot better. Techno tells Tommy of his idea to hide Tommy in a box in the cabin so then Dream won't find him. I'm horrified that the only thing I can get from that is the boy in the box. Don't look that up. Tommy and Techno also brew some potions together for self-defense. It probably isn't. And then Techno gives Tommy the netherite sword. Brotherly bonding moment, guys. And they go to the greater Dsmp to chillax, even though exiles, so invisibility is needed. Tommy takes the church prime bell and then accidentally destroys part of the socializing club. He tries to fix it though, so everything is fine and dandy. And Puffy sees these two, but instead of actually saying anything, she just ignores that. And honestly, you literally just thought he was dead 2 minutes ago, so why are you all suddenly chill? Tommy then goes to Phil's house, steals some stuff, as he should, and they try to infiltrate Fundy's house and start looking for the orphan obliterator, Techno's trident rocket launcher, and of course, the ever elusive axe of peace. They also plan to make a secret base under the L'Manberg apiary? I don't know how to pronounce words. And also just why though? You're not supposed to be in L'Manberg. Why are we risking it? Also Techno just kind of is oh, I'm gonna go check something out, and goes to leave, and Tommy's like, don't. Techno also decides to show Tommy the remodeled final control room, and to that I say, who thought that was a good idea? We all know PTSD is a thing, and Tommy sure does have a lot of it. Anyway, everything's fine because when Tommy goes back to the cabin, he just builds a... Techno's horse is also found to be missing from its stable. But you know what? It's fine because he hid it for leverage. Going to air it. He realizes that, you know what? Dream can take away my kingship at any moment, so maybe I should be a bit more scared of this fellow. Speaking of Dream, he meets with Puns to discuss everything that's happening with Pandora's Vault. And Dream's like, yo, dude, you're the only person that has been loyal to me, so don't mess it up. I know that the Butcher Army is going to come after me, so be chill. Dream also says that he knows that Tommy has escaped from Locksteadshire, but he doesn't know where the boy is, so, like, he needs help. Dream also reveals to Puns all of Pandora's Vault. There are 20 cells, enough to imprison everyone on the server. I wonder what's going to be with that. And so, because Dream trusts Puns so much, he says that Puns can now be in charge of the Dream SMP faction. But Dream realizes, you know what, you're a target now, so let's stage a falling out to make everything fine and dandy. Which, like, why are we putting so much trust in Puns? Like, you're a great person, but, like, Dream, no one likes you right now. December 18th, Tommy and Techno start making their Hound army, which I don't agree with, but whatever. Tommy then stumbles into Locksteadshire, experiences some PTSD flashbacks. Everything's alright. Not really, though. We're all pretending it's fine. It's not. Why it's not fine? Because Dream messages Techno that he wants to meet up. And Techno's like, oh, frick, and splashes an invisibility potion at Tommy to try to conceal the boy. And of course, he goes and hides in that box. Dream tells Techno that everyone thinks that Tommy is dead, but Dream knows that, like, the kid's not dead, so, Techno, help. Techno and Tommy then go to the greater SMP again, which I think, why do you keep doing this? That's a really stupid idea, guys. And there's a lot of stuff with dogs, and I don't want to get too into it. But during this whole roundabout thing, we find out that Schlatt's ghost name is Glatt. Which, like, I'm sorry, but compared to, like, the other ones, it's kind of lacking, but also, like, perfectly fitting for Schlatt. Puffy is also working on an area under her house that she will dub the Temple of Hype. And she takes the Prime Bell to this mining area. That freaking bell. George and Quackity also get together to farm some music discs, I guess. Because apparently everyone on this server wants discs now. It's not like that was Tommy's thing. George does end up killing Quackity in the Holy Lands, which I thought no one was supposed to get harmed in them, but we're going to ignore that rule all the time. And Dream's like, you know what? Here's a punishment. Get /killed. December 19th. A very sweet moment for once. H-Bomb decides to give everyone Christmas gifts, and he gives a parrot named Blue to Ghostspur. Tommy also plans to build a new house next to Techno so he can have his own house. And then Dream visits Ghostspur with a respawned friend. And don't worry, guys, friend has an infinite amount of canon lives, so whenever it dies, it's alright. Ghostspur tries to lie for Tommy, being like, oh, he's nowhere around here. But then he accidentally reveals that, like, he has seen Tommy recently, so he kind of sucks. And Dream ends up finding Tommy's room and takes the freaking Prime Bell. But for a little somewhat brother moment, though I don't really know if Ghostspur and Tommy are considered brothers, but they kind of should be because it's also Wilbur, but whatever. They have a little bonding moment where Ghostspur is trying to teach Tommy how to build proper houses. Trigger warning for unaliving self. Alright, Ghostspur goes with Tommy to Locksteadshire to get more supplies, and then he sees the giant pole in the sky and is like, Tommy, what is that? And Tommy's like, you know what, Ghostspur? That's when I tried to off myself. And of course, when they leave, Tommy's feeling a bit bad. December 20th, Tubbo, who has all of Techno's weapons, puts them in a hidden chest near the Holy Land, just so you know he cannot die. Techno also visits L'Manberg finally, as if that was an uncommon occurrence, and starts to expand his Hound army, which I am still uncomfortable about. But when he goes back to the community nether portal, Punk and Jack are there and are like, dude, you are trespassing. There is a scuffle between these people, and they settle the conflict in the Holy Lands. Punk shows Techno Church Prime, even though Techno's like, I am part of YouTube gaming. Techno, why? And then Punk's like, alright, come to the Hell Pit. And before the trap that Sam built can be actually put to use, Techno uses it to kill Punk and Ant. But you know what? Techno is able to just walk out of there scot-free. Tubbo gives Fundy to Ant for his animal sanctuary. And this is, again, raising the question, what constitutes an animal and what constitutes a person on this server? Because why does Fundy have a pet fox if he is actually a fox? And also, how did a fox come from a salmon and a human? Shows up at Techno's cabin again. trying to interrogate him about Tommy. He sees the house that Tommy and Ghostbur built, which, guys, if you wanted to be, like, inconspicuous, why would you build a house? And also the voices in Techno's head are touched on a bit because they keep interrupting him. And Dream's like, you know what? Remember that favor you owe me? Yeah. He also says that he knows where Tommy is. Totally a lie. And also brings up the Greek mythology reference that Theseus was killed by the one that was offering his home after exile. And who was housing Tommy? Technoblade. And because Techno just has to get that last laugh, he calls Dream homeless, and this makes Dream salty enough that he ends up building an evil lair right next to Techno's cabin. Techno, probably out of spite, makes another trip to L'Manberg. Techno and Ranboo have a little scuffle because, let's be honest, Techno cannot go 5 seconds without fighting someone. Also, let's not get too into it, but KSI does join the server for a small portion of time. And we're gonna pretend that, that never happened. Back to the egg lore. Bat and Ant investigate it, and they see that the egg is messing up all the obsidian around it. And so they try a little experiment, and they place some red, white, and blue wool within the obsidian layers. And then just to make sure everything's fine, let's add more obsidian. They also find some blood vines in Eret's museum and Punz's tower, and they're like, hey, let's leave them. They also check on Little Red, which they are like, maybe it's not connected to the egg. It should be fine. Why did we think that, guys? Why did we just assume that, like, it's its own thing? December 21st. There's a festival coming up again, because those always go so good, and Ranboo starts decorating for it. And then Ant and Bad check on the egg again, and all those blood vines that are still hanging around because they thought not to clear them up. The wool, let's check on that. The red one turned white, the white one stayed the same, and the blue changed to red, so I guess purity. Just to make sure, they cover the egg in another layer of obsidian, and immerse the converted block of red wool in a pool filled with water, just to see if it'll turn back to its blue color. They also place water in the obsidian around the egg to see if anything will happen. And then Ant and Bad show Sam, Pong, and Punz what they've seen with the experiments. Yeah. December 22nd. Phil decides to take off his ankle monitor again. Ghostbur visits him with Friend, and then leaves. The sheep being there, and Phil checks on it and sees that it's wandered out into the streets of L'Manberg. And then Ghostbur logs back on and is like, what have you done with Friend? It's this really annoying thing where he logs on, logs off, logs on, logs off every minute. So yeah, there's that. And then Friend goes missing again because no one's been paying attention, let's be honest. And Ghostbur asks Fundy to look after the sheep because Phil is a bad pet sitter. But Fundy doesn't really know who Friend is, and so Friend just gets left in the house. Tubbo then shows up and visits Phil, and he's like, hey, your ankle monitor is still on its stand. What's that about, Phil? So, Tubbo makes another ankle monitor with the Curse of Binding, my least favorite enchantment. And he makes a helmet monitor, also with the Curse of Binding. And Ghostbur asks to see it and then accidentally puts it on. And so Ant kills Ghostbur to get that thing off. Phil pretends to put the actual monitor on, and then he hands the real one back to Tubbo, and Tubbo, like an idiot, puts it on. And this makes Tubbo technically under house arrest in Phil's house. Techno travels to the SMP again and takes down the Butcher Army propaganda posters. And then puts up pro-anarchy posters, like that's any better. And Techno visits L'Manberg to save Phil. He kills Tubbo, as one does. Honestly, when will Tubbo get a break from Techno? And he takes down the rest of his wanted posters in L'Manberg. Techno is able to help Phil actually escape L'Manberg. And then Ranboo sees them and Techno kills him. And Puffy checks on the egg. Nothing has changed. That's for once. And then Techno and Phil get to Techno's cabin and they're like, we gotta get stronger. They heal a zombie villager and name it Placeholder, which I think is unironically one of the funniest names on this server. We find out Placeholder is a bit of an idiot. And so Techno and Phil decide to execute him in front of Ranboo. But to make matters worse, Techno's like, hey Ranboo, kill it. Which, like, what the heck, man? They also get a baby zombie villager, cure it, and name it Orphan, which I think means Techno has to kill it. Techno and Phil, after Ranboo has run off, they finally realize that, you know what, Ranboo might report our crimes to someone, so we should kill him. They temporarily find everything to be all right, and so they make their way to the L'Manberg Apiary. And Techno, with his ever search for violence, decides to just attack Jack. Phil and Rambu talk to Jack, blame it all on Puns, and then a mob has formed, with Ant and Fundy joining in too. Puns doesn't show up, and so they all decide to gang up on Jack instead. Jack kills Fundy by accident in the Holy Lands, and everyone chases him to Pun's house. There they see Puns, of course, and Puffy and Ponk. They join the hunt for Jack. Puns and Jack decide to duel it out in L'Manberg. And of course, Puns wins. And Techno and Phil, utterly done with all this, go to Techno's cabin, and Techno shows Phil, hey, I got a lot of wither skulls. Puffy also decides to build a house for Dream on a hill above the entrance of his former secret base. And remind me if I am incorrect, but isn't Puffy like Dream's mother in this? Hold on one sec, I need to make sure this is right. Wait, I'm literally about to lose it. Was that entire thing just a headcanon that I thought was... I'm done. Anyway, y'all don't know how much that actually hurt me. Like, I thought that was, like, canon. December 23rd. Tubbo has a birthday party. He gets gifts from his friends. Everything is A-okay. Then Tubbo finds more of Techno's propaganda posters, and he decapitates Techno's head on some of the posters. That's fun. Another cute thing, Nikki plans to get Christmas gifts for everyone and makes cards and stuff. It's so adorable. I love how we have these, like, little moments of, like, peace and where everything is, like, fine and people are, like, getting, like, out of character. I love that. Because let's be honest, everyone's characters are horrible people. Back to the not-so-fun bits. Tommy is like, you know what? I'm not intimidating enough. And so, to get his discs back, because he's never really going to get those back, he decides to make a 2 days sign out of cobblestone around the Prime Path, right next to Pun's house. And Ponk sees him and is like, oh, whatever. Which raises the question, isn't everyone still thinking that Tommy is dead? Why are they just ignoring him when they see him? Shouldn't they be like, oh my god, Tommy's alive? And Tommy goes up to Ponk and is like, hey, have you seen that dream? Ponk's like, no, dude, I haven't. And Tommy is able to convince Ponk to bring him to L'Manberg and is like, Ponk, if you snitch on me. He doesn't snitch, though. It's fine. And Tommy gets to see his old house in the L'Manberg embassy. And Nikki sees him and leaves him alone. Like, girl, what the heck? But back to the egg. Bad is checking in on it this time, and he sees that it has corroded the second layer of obsidian and turned it to crying obsidian. And the red wool hasn't changed, so I guess there's no turning back now. And then he replaces this water with holy water from Church Prime just to see if anything will actually change if it's holy water instead. And so Bad goes to Puns about this and talks about the blood vines that are on top of Pun's tower. They also get these, like, purple outfits from Church Prime because, like, holiness, I guess. They literally made a Minecraft server and were like, you can make religion out of this. Please don't. Anyway, back to the egg. They start cracking it open, or at least the layers of obsidian around it, and the inside layer is gone, and the egg is bigger now. And that water? Yeah, it's lava now. They're like, maybe this egg isn't an egg. Maybe it's a seed. Which, like, it took y'all this long to realize that maybe the thing that was growing vines wasn't an egg. Like, we get it's a shape, but, like, guys, completely different properties. Bad and Puns flee, and then go to tell Ant about what's happening. They also enact a policy that they will always wear their Church Prime uniforms when going to check out the egg. And they start building a decontamination chamber to make sure that they're fine when they finally leave the room. And then they go to check on Little Red, just to, like, see that it's not actually a part of this. And it's not, guys. It's fine. They go back and to check on their little wool experiment and see that the holy water actually turned the red wool back to blue. So maybe if we put Skeppy in the holy water, he'll be fine now. December 24th. There's Christmas shenanigans. H-Bomb is making gifts. Ponk decides that he's going to be the Grinch. Nikki's also writing her letters. Fundy's opening up gifts. Everything is sweet. It's Christmas time. The most wonderful time of the year. And then actual Christmas, December 25th. Tommy returns to Loxodshire. He makes a cobblestone monument there and is planning to conquer his fears of the place. Which, sir, it is not a fear of the place, that's literal trauma. Because it's Christmas Day, Dream's like, you know what? You can be around everyone else. For one day. December 26th. Dream announces the actual festival. It's going to be a Festivals for Dream. And it's going to be on December 29th. Lonnie also shows up for a bit and collects some resources. Stealing them from people, of course. Skeppy's friend also joins on, you know. Let's all just join. And And Skeppy just shows up for a sec and he decides, let's set me and Rambu on fire with lava. And guys, Rambu may have lost an important object, his memory book. And another important thing. Carl sets up a 1-hour timer for him, George, Fundy, Sam, and Bat to build a new town in all those untouched places of the SMP near Boomerville. Carl's like, something's gonna happen, but don't worry about it, just build that town. It's called Gogtopia, which I think just goes to show that these people don't know how to name things. They find a zombie villager, revive him, and name him Gregory V, and he is now the mayor of Gogtopia. And then the timer runs out. George triggers a raid. They actually managed to complete it. And they all are having a great time. They already made a national anthem, a flag. What could possibly go wrong? What could go wrong, you say? Carl setting everything on fire and burning it and literally exploding the entire town with TNT. Everyone's like, yo, dude, why did you do that? And Carl's like, you know what? It's not Gogtopia. It's the town that never was. And Carl's like, I always meant to destroy it from the beginning, guys. I said there was something that was going to happen. I just never said what it was. He wanted the legacy of this place to last forever instead of the other places on the server that have just fallen into irrelevancy because no one talks about them anymore. Which, not so subtle drag, dude. This later is going to become known as the pilot episode for Tales from the SMP. And with that, I'm going to end with this recording because I'm going to do another episode next week. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things that real YouTubers are supposed to say, and goodbye.